Palmview Heights estate glittered under the Lakora city skyline, the night humming with wealth and loud music. Inside the Adeyemi duplex, the air itself seemed to sweat. Perfume, whiskey, and arrogance fought for space as Kola Adeyemi, freshly crowned with a lucrative tech contract, laughed loudly among his friends, Segun Martins, Kunle Bada, and Femi Alat. The men raised glasses filled with expensive rum. Red cups littered the marble table. The music was so loud it shook the chandelier above their heads. And moving silently among them was Zara and Kim Adeyemi, 6 months pregnant, breath short and back aching. She held a tray of fresh drinks, her smile soft, her steps steady, her spirit tired. She had rushed from the market, cooked small chops, cleaned the entire house, set the table all because Kola texted her only 2 hours earlier. Party tonight. No excuses. She obeyed. For peace. For love. For the man she thought she knew. Kola, she said softly as she approached. I've brought the drinks. He cut her off with a sneer. Zara, move faster, or are you suddenly disabled because you're pregnant? Segun roared with laughter. Kunle clapped like it was a comedy show. Femi shook his head, grinning. Zara's smile faltered for only a second. Kola, please, she whispered. I did all this today. My back is killing me. Just be kind. Kola tilted his head, mocking her with every motion. Kind? You want praise for boiling meat and pouring drinks? The men howled. Zara kept breathing, slow and steady. This wasn't new. But tonight something felt heavier. She set the tray down carefully. Kola, not in front of people. Please. He stepped closer, voice sharp enough to cut. And how am I even sure that child is mine? The room froze. Zara's heart slammed against her ribs. Kola, her voice trembled. Don't say that. You know the truth. But the laughter resumed, crueler than before. Zara turned away, her face hot, stomach tightening painfully. She took a step, but Kola casually stretched out his foot. Her shoe caught his. The tray flew. Cups shattered. Red liquid splashed across her dress. Zara fell hard on her side, a sharp cry ripping from her throat. Pain flooded her belly hot, shocking, wrong. Kola, she gasped, clutching her stomach. Please, something's wrong. He stepped forward, eyes blazing with drunken ego. And he kicked her. Right in the stomach. The world exploded in white. Zara curled around the pain, breath crushed out of her body. A warm wetness spread beneath her. Blood. Too much blood. The chandelier blurred above her. Her vision thinned. Their voices sounded far away, muffled, inhuman. Drama queen. She always overreacts. She should stop pretending. Their laughter followed her into darkness. The last thing she heard was Kola's voice murmuring, she should be grateful I haven't thrown her out. Then everything went black. A sharp white light pierced through the darkness. Zara's eyes fluttered open slowly, her lashes sticking together with dried tears. The ceiling above her was plain, sterile, humming faintly. The smell of antiseptic clung to the air like a warning. She tried to move. Pain shot through her lower abdomen, deep and hollow. Her hand flew to her stomach. Flat. Empty. Wrong. Panic thundered through her chest. No, no, she whispered, voice cracking. My baby? Please. The door opened quietly. A middle-aged doctor stepped in, his face carrying that heavy sadness. Doctors learned only from years of delivering terrible news. He approached her bedside gently. Mrs. Adeyemi, he said softly. Zara's eyes searched his face for hope. For anything. Doctor, my baby. Please tell me my baby's alive. He exhaled slowly, his shoulders dropping. Zara, I'm very sorry. You suffered a severe placental abruption. There was extensive bleeding. Her breath caught. Her world paused. We tried everything, he continued, voice trembling with sincerity. But the baby did not survive. The words hit her like a physical blow. Zara shook her head violently. No, that's my child, my baby. Please don't say that, please. Her cry tore through the room, raw and heartbreaking. She clutched her stomach, rocking back and forth as tears streamed down her face. The doctor didn't touch her. He knew some grief couldn't be comforted by hands. Then he swallowed hard. Zara, there is more. Her breath stopped. Because you were not brought in on time, and due to the complications of the miscarriage, there is scarring inside your uterus. His voice fell to a whisper. You have developed Asherman syndrome. The damage is extensive. I'm afraid you won't be able to conceive again. Silence. A silence so thick it pressed against her ears. Zara stared at him, unblinking, the truth sinking in through her skin like poison. Her baby was gone. And now, her future children, too. Everything she had ever hoped for ripped away in a single night. A sound rose from her throat, deep and wounded, not entirely human. She pressed both hands over her mouth, trying to contain it, but it burst through anyway. Her heart felt like it was being torn apart piece by piece. She cried until her body shook uncontrollably. The doctor placed a small box of tissues by her bedside, but he didn't try to speak again. After a quiet moment, he walked out, leaving her alone with the shattering of her life. Her phone buzzed weakly beside her pillow. With trembling fingers, she reached for it. Maybe Kola finally cared. Maybe he was worried. Maybe he felt even an ounce of guilt. The message on the screen read, "Stop embarrassing me. You did this to yourself." The room swayed. Her breath stopped. The last thread holding her together snapped. Zara dropped the phone, staring blankly at the ceiling. Her baby was gone. Her womb was ruined. Her marriage was a lie. Her husband was a monster. And she was utterly alone. Except somewhere beneath the grief, something else stirred a spark. A small, burning ember of something she had forgotten she possessed. Not anger, not revenge, not yet. Strength. Very faint, very weak, but alive. For a long time, Zara lay still in the quiet hospital room, staring at nothing. Her tears had dried into tight salt on her cheeks, but inside her chest, a storm raged on. Grief, betrayal, humiliation, loss, everything pressed on her like a physical weight. She touched her stomach again, fingers trembling. Her baby, her only child, gone. And worse, the knowledge that she might never conceive again made the silence in the room feel suffocating. Eventually, the flood of pain pulled her backward, back through memories she had tried so hard to bury, back to the beginning, before the scars and the heartbreak, before Palmview Heights turned into a prison, back to who she used to be. 2 years earlier, she had been a rising star in the tech world. Zara and Kem Adeyemi, the brilliant young engineer from Aurora Tech Hub. She was confident, ambitious, and full of fire. Her ideas sparked conversations in boardrooms filled with seasoned executives. Her name was whispered with respect. And on one unforgettable night, she had been the keynote presenter at a major Lagos tech conference. Her project had dazzled the room. Investors took notes. Journalists approached her for interviews. She was going somewhere. She was becoming someone. And then she saw him. Kola Adeyemi, standing near the back of the hall, pitching a shaky idea to a panel of investors who dismissed him without mercy. His tie was crooked, his jacket oversized, but his eyes burned with hope, a hope that everyone around him casually crushed. Something about his vulnerability drew her in. After the event, she approached him with a small, encouraging smile. "Your idea isn't bad," she said gently. "It just needs structure and depth." He stared at her as if she had handed him oxygen. "You think so?" he asked, voice small. "I know so." That moment, that single moment, was the beginning of everything. Late-night brainstorming sessions, hours of coding together, coffee shops, shared dreams, shared laughter, shared ambition. He began calling her his miracle, his angel, the woman who believed in him when no one else did. And she believed it. Soon she invested all her savings into his idea. When that wasn't enough, she sold her parents' house, her only inheritance, the last piece of them she had left. All for love. All for the man who would one day destroy her. The memories cut deeper than any wound on her body. Zara closed her eyes. She remembered the promises, the gratitude, the gentle words, the way he held her like she was his world. Back then, Kola had been tender, desperate to succeed, full of hunger, not cruelty. But success had changed him. Or perhaps success had simply revealed who he truly was. The turning point had come quietly. First, he asked to become the face of the project. "Investors trust men more," he said. "Just let me handle the spotlight," she agreed. Then he asked her to stop attending meetings, then to resign from Aurora Tech Hub, and then to stay home entirely. And she had done it. For peace, for marriage, for the man she loved. Now, lying alone in the hospital bed, all those memories pressed into her chest like stones. She had given up everything: career, inheritance, identity, only for him to mock her, assault her, and kill her child. Her tears returned, hot and silent. But as she cried, something else rose inside her, slow, steady burning. Not weakness, not fear. Awareness. Awareness of the truth she had refused to face. Kola had not built her life. She had built his. And now he believed she had nothing left. He was wrong. Very wrong. Because beneath the pain, beneath the grief, beneath the ashes of the woman she once was, something powerful was waking up again. Something Kola had hoped would stay dead. Zara. The real Zara. The brilliant, unstoppable, razor-sharp Zara. And she would rise. Not today. Not in this bed. Not with this pain still bleeding in her soul. But soon. Very soon. Zara was discharged 2 days later. The world outside the hospital felt strangely loud. Cars honking, people bargaining at roadside stalls, children laughing as they chased each other in the dusty estate playground. Life moved on as if her own hadn't just collapsed into pieces. The ride home in the taxi was silent. She sat with her hands folded tightly in her lap, staring through the window, her reflection fractured on the glass. Her stomach still ached, a hollow reminder of what had been taken from her. When she stepped into Palmview Heights Estate, the house felt different. Oh, too large, too cold, too quiet. She paused at the entrance, inhaling the scent of the home she no longer recognized. The scent of betrayal, the scent of nights spent crying quietly into pillows, the scent of memories that now stung like open wounds. As she walked in, everything reminded her of the life she had sacrificed, the marble floor she once polished joyfully, the kitchen she stocked with groceries using her last savings, the couch where she and Kola used to sit and dream, dreams he shattered without hesitation. But Zara wiped her eyes and forced herself to breathe. She needed to remain calm. She needed to remain invisible. Because the truth was simple. If Kola sensed even a spark of resistance, he would crush her again, and this time she wouldn't survive it. So she placed her grief in a quiet corner of her heart, tucked her strength beneath her breath, and slipped into a fragile, deliberate silence. A silence that would protect her. A silence that would prepare her. A silence that would one day destroy him. Kola came home hours later, smelling of whiskey and cheap perfume. He walked past her without a glance, without a word, as though she were furniture. Then in the same cold tone he always used, he said, "Clean up the living room. You left it messy before rushing to the hospital." Zara froze. The living room where she had bled, where she had fallen, where their child had died. A sharp pain shot through her chest, but she swallowed it like poison. "Yes," she whispered. Her voice shook, but her hands stayed steady. Kola didn't notice. Kola never noticed. He only strutted into the bedroom, bragging loudly over the phone, probably to Segun or Kunle, about his victory. She heard him laugh, heard him belittle her, heard him mock her pain as if it were a joke he was proud of telling. Every word was another cut, another reminder, another spark. But her silence held. Later that night, after Kola fell into drunken sleep, snoring loudly across the room, Zara slipped out quietly. She walked to the guest room, the only place in the house where she could breathe. She closed the door softly behind her. Leaning against it, she let herself finally exhale. The room was dim, lit only by the soft yellow lamp beside the old wooden desk. Her engineering diary sat where she had left it years ago, dusty, forgotten, abandoned. She reached for it with trembling fingers. The moment she opened it, something inside her broke and healed at the same time. Page after page, sketches, algorithms, code ideas, dreams. The dream she had buried to become a wife. Her tears fell onto the ink, smudging her old handwriting. She pressed the book to her chest, her body shaking with grief, regret, and anger, but also something else. Recognition. This was who she used to be. This was the version of herself she had sacrificed. This was the woman she needed to become again. Her laptop sat silently on the desk, dark and waiting. She wiped her face, pulled the chair closer, and sat. With one deep, steadying breath, she opened the laptop and placed her fingers on the keys. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she whispered the words that would define the rest of her life. "I am done suffering." The screen lit up. Lines of code appeared beneath her fingertips, hesitant at first, then flowing, then racing, like a river breaking its dam. Zara coded through the night, her grief driving every keystroke, her anger sharpening her mind, her pain fueling her focus. She wasn't just typing. She was rebirthing herself. A new Zara was emerging, wounded, but not defeated, broken, but not destroyed. And she carried a vow in her chest like fire. Kola will pay. For everything. For every bruise. For every humiliation, or for every lie. For every tear. For every heartbeat her child never got to have. He will pay. This wasn't revenge. This was justice, the kind that rises from ashes. And Zara Adeyemi was rising. The morning after her long night of coding, Zara moved through the house with a quiet, calculated calm. She prepared Kola's breakfast, placed it gently on the table, and avoided his eyes when he grunted in her direction. To him, she looked obedient, broken, softened into silence. To her, this silence had become armor. After he left for work, slamming the door behind him, the emptiness of the house swallowed her again, She sat on the couch, hands folded tightly, staring at nothing. Her body felt heavy, her spirit fragile, her heart aching with memories she didn't want but couldn't escape. That was when a soft knock echoed through the house. Zara's breath caught. No one visited her anymore. She opened the door slowly. Standing there were Amaka Igwe and Tayo Adebayo, the only two friends who had stood by her since secondary school. The women who had celebrated her first internship, who had cried with her when her parents died, who had cheered on every dream she once had. "Zara," Amaka whispered, her eyes already filling with tears. Before Zara could speak, Tayo moved forward and wrapped her in a gentle, trembling hug, careful of her abdomen, careful of her pain. And that was all it took. The mask Zara had held together with shaking breath and silent nights crumbled instantly. Her sobs tore out of her in harsh, broken waves. She clung to Tayo like someone drowning. Amaka closed the door behind them and rushed to support her other side. They guided her to the couch, sitting on either side of her like shields. "Zara," Tayo murmured, brushing her hair back softly. "You don't have to pretend. Not with us." Zara shook her head, crying harder. "He killed my baby. My baby. And I couldn't save—" Her voice choked into silence. Amaka tightened her grip. "No, he killed your child. Not you. Never blame yourself for what a wicked man chose to do." Zara covered her face with both hands. "I'm empty. I feel so empty. There's nothing left in me." Tayo's eyes glistened as she whispered, "You lost your child. And they told us about the Asherman syndrome. Zara, that kind of pain breaks even the strongest woman." A fresh sob tore out of Zara. She felt every word like a blade. "And Kola?" Amaka asked quietly, her voice darkening. "Has he apologized? Has he shown—" "No," Zara whispered. "He hasn't even visited. He texted me in the hospital. He said I embarrassed him." Amaka's face hardened with fury. "If I see that man, I swear." Zara grabbed her hand, shaking her head. "No, don't fight him. Not yet." Amaka blinked. "Yet?" A slow, dangerous clarity settled into Zara's eyes, the first hint of the fire rising inside her. "I need you both to listen," she whispered. "Last night, I remembered who I used to be, and I realized something." Her voice steadied. "Kola thinks he broke me. He thinks I'm too weak to leave, too weak to stand up, too weak to matter." She wiped her tears roughly. "But he doesn't know that every time he hurts me, he creates a stronger version of me." Amaka stared at her, breath held. Tayo's eyes widened with hope. Zara inhaled deeply. "I am going to destroy everything he built. Not with anger. Not with shouting. Not with fists. But with intelligence, precision, and silence." Tayo held her hand. "Zara, we're with you, every step." Amaka nodded firmly, her voice steady. "You want revenge? We'll build it. You want justice? We'll gather it. You want your life back? We'll help you take it." Zara leaned back slowly, breathing through the ache. For the first time since the tragedy, she didn't feel alone. She didn't feel helpless. She didn't feel like a corpse walking through a house filled with ghosts. For the first time, she felt like a woman rising. The house felt different the next morning, not lighter, not happier, but sharper, as if the air itself understood that something inside Zara had shifted. Kola slammed the door as he left for work, his cologne mixing with the scent of his arrogance. Zara watched from the hallway, her expression blank, her silence polished into something dangerous. When his footsteps faded, she finally breathed. She needed strength. She needed strategy. She needed proof. She began cleaning the living room, not because he demanded it, but because she needed to move, to think, to ground her racing mind. That was when another soft buzz echoed through the room. Kola's phone. He had left it on the couch, plugged into the charger, screen glowing faintly. Zara's heartbeat quickened. For a long moment, she simply stared at it. Then she remembered every insult, every humiliation. The night he kicked her. The cold hospital message. The child she lost. The womb he damaged. Her breathing steadied. She picked up the phone. It unlocked instantly. Kola never thought she mattered enough to hide anything. The first thing she saw was a message thread labeled Client 4. But when she opened it, her stomach turned. Not a client. A woman. Half-dressed selfies. Heart emojis. Last night was amazing, baby. When are we meeting again? Zara's fingers clenched. She opened more threads. Business contact 1. Another woman. Voice notes. Plans to meet at a hotel. Payment request. Screenshots of bank transfers. He was sending company money to girlfriends. She felt sick. Not just because he cheated, but because he had framed her as the unfaithful one. Accused her of carrying another man's child. Humiliated her publicly. All while he lived a double life without shame. Tears burned her eyes, not from heartbreak, but from betrayal so deep it felt like drowning. Her hand trembled, then strengthened. She opened her phone and began taking screenshots. Every message, every picture, every transaction, every voice note. Saved in a hidden, encrypted folder she knew Kola would never find. As she scrolled, she stumbled across something else, something far darker. A group chat named Elite Brothers, Segun, Kunla, Femi, and Kola. Their conversations were vile, bragging about exploits, planning dirty business deals, mocking women, mocking Zara. One message from Kola made her breath freeze in her chest. She thinks she's lucky I didn't throw her out. I feed her. I clothe her. She's nothing without me. Segun responded with laughing emojis. Kunla said, teach her well, boss. Femi added, women need discipline. Zara's vision blurred with rage. But she didn't cry. Not this time. She recorded everything. Her fingers moved with purpose, saving, documenting, collecting each poisonous word, each file another weapon. Then she heard something, Kola's voice echoing faintly from a memory. The night before the miscarriage, his friends laughed. He had boasted, men like us can't be controlled by women. And they all agreed. Zara closed her eyes. She felt the ache in her womb, the truth in her chest, the fire in her bones. She was done being the woman they laughed at. She was reclaiming every part of herself quietly, strategically, one file at a time. When she finished gathering evidence, she placed the phone exactly where she found it. Then she walked to the kitchen sink, washed her hands slowly, and looked at her reflection in the glass window. The woman staring back wasn't the same one who had begged for love, who had believed in Kola's dreams more than her own, who had lost everything in one cruel night. No. Her eyes were different now. Sharper. Colder. Focused. Kola, she whispered to the empty room. You have no idea what you've started. Because now she had proof. Now she had motive. Now she had strength. And with Amaka and Tayo beside her, she was no longer alone. This wasn't the beginning of her downfall. It was the beginning of his. Night came quietly over Palmview Heights, but there was nothing quiet about Zara's mind. The evidence she had collected burned like live coals in her thoughts, Screenshots, voice notes, transfers, group chats. Proof that Kola wasn't just a bad husband. He was a liar, a cheat, a manipulator, a thief, and she had all the receipts. But having proof wasn't enough. She needed something more powerful herself. After cleaning up the kitchen and pretending to watch TV, Zara waited until Kola fell asleep. His snores echoed down the hallway, arrogant even in unconsciousness. She moved like a shadow toward the guest room, her sanctuary. The moment she closed the door, her expression shifted. Her breath steadied. Her shoulders relaxed. The armor slipped off and the real Zara stepped forward. She pulled her diary from the drawer, the one filled with code sketches and dreams she abandoned to become Mrs. Kola Adeyemi. Her fingers traced the pages, feeling the old fire pulse through her like a heartbeat returning. She sat at the desk, opened her laptop, and the glow lit her face like sunrise. Lines of code filled the screen, bit by bit, command by command, function by function. She wasn't coding for Kola this time. She wasn't building his future. She was building hers. A simple app interface appeared first, a personal project, something she had once dreamed of creating before love pulled her into darkness. Then a prototype algorithm. Then a digital log. Then a hidden database for evidence. Hours passed like minutes. But in the midst of this new clarity, her chest tightened. A memory surfaced from a time when she was full of promise. A younger Zara sitting in the Aurora Tech Hub cafeteria telling Amaka and Tayo, "One day, I'll build something so powerful that even big companies will need me." She had believed it. Deeply. Passionately. Until Kola convinced her that her worth depended on being a good wife. Now, as she coded, she whispered to herself, "I'm taking everything back." Her fingers didn't shake anymore. Her posture didn't slump in fear. Her breathing no longer trembled. This was muscle memory, the rebirth of a woman forged in brilliance and buried in love. She worked until the first trace of dawn painted the sky outside her window. And in that moment, she felt something she hadn't felt in months, maybe years. Purpose. The kind that makes you sit straighter. The kind that fills your lungs with courage. The kind that fuels revenge, not with hatred, but with clarity. Her heart still ached. Oh, it ached deeply, but now the pain had direction. When her phone buzzed at the edge of the desk, she expected Kola, another insult, another demand. But the name on the screen made her inhale sharply. "Amaka?" Zara answered, voice hushed. "Zara," Amaka said immediately. "I didn't sleep all night. I've been thinking about you, about Kola, about everything you told us." "Amaka?" Her voice cracked softly. "Come to the office today, Igwe Partners. I need you to tell me everything, word for word." Zara froze for a moment. Then she nodded slowly, even though Amaka couldn't see her. "I'll be there." "Good," Amaka replied. "Zara, we're going to end this properly, legally, powerfully, and safely." When the call ended, Zara sat still, staring at her laptop screen. And then she whispered with a calm fierceness, "No more silence." She closed the laptop gently, not with fear, not with hesitation, but with confidence. Because the woman who left this guest room in the morning would not be the same woman who entered it. She was returning to the world not as Kola's wife, not as a broken victim, not as a woman who had lost everything, but as Zara Nkem Adeyemi, the engineer, the builder, the strategist. The woman who would rise from ashes and make her name impossible to erase. Kola had woken the wrong version of her. And soon, he would learn exactly what that meant. By mid-morning, Zara stood in front of the towering glass doors of Igwe Partners law firm, Lakora City's most formidable legal fortress. The sunlight bounced off the reflective surface, making the building look almost intimidating. Her palms sweated. Her heart raced. But she didn't turn back. Inside, the reception smelled of polished wood and quiet power. Lawyers moved briskly, their suits crisp, their eyes sharp. Zara swallowed. She wasn't here as a wife begging for help. She was here as a woman ready to fight. When Amaka appeared at the hallway entrance, her expression softened immediately. She crossed the room and pulled Zara into a gentle hug, careful, warm, grounding. "You came," she whispered. Zara nodded, exhaling shakily. "I'm ready." They walked into Amaka's private office, a space filled with towering shelves of legal books, perfectly arranged files, and a large wooden desk that commanded authority. The floor-to-ceiling glass window offered a view of Lakora's skyline, a reminder of how small, yet how powerful one woman could be. Amaka closed the door behind them. "Sit," she said gently. Zara did, clutching her phone tightly. Her fingers trembled, but her eyes didn't. Not anymore. "Zara," Amaka began, sitting opposite her. "Before we proceed, you need to understand this clearly. Everything Kola did is criminal, not just abusive criminal." Zara swallowed. "I know." "Good. Now, show me." Zara unlocked her phone. When Amaka saw the first set of cheating messages, her eyebrows knitted. By the second batch of screenshots, her jaw tightened. By the third, her voice dropped into something dark and deadly. "Oh, he is finished." Zara scrolled further, exposing the financial misuse. Company funds used to pay for hotels. Wire transfers disguised as client outreach. Late-night pictures from multiple women. Amaka leaned forward, whispering, "This is fraud. This is embezzlement. This is enough to bring down his entire company." But Zara wasn't done. She opened the group chat. Elite Brothers. As the messages filled the screen, Amaka's anger deepened. Segun mocking women. Kunle bragging about extortion. Femi spreading lies about Zara. And Kola laughing at every insult. Amaka slammed her palm on the desk. This is evidence of a whole criminal network, not just Kola, all of them." Zara bowed her head briefly, the pain still raw. "They humiliated me, lied about me, supported him every time he hurt me." Amaka inhaled slowly, trying to contain her rage. "Zara, you didn't just marry a bad man. You married a man surrounded by wolves." Zara's throat tightened. "Yes. And now," Amaka said, voice dropping to a whisper, "we hunt them back." For a moment, Zara couldn't breathe. It was the way Amaka said we. Not you, not I, but we. She wasn't alone in this war anymore. Amaka opened a file drawer and pulled out a large black folder. "From this moment," she continued, "I am documenting every piece of evidence. We'll back up everything twice. We'll timestamp it, encrypt it, cross-reference every financial movement. When we're done," she leaned closer, her voice ice cold, "Kola won't be able to save himself even if he falls on his knees." Zara closed her eyes, a tear slipping free, not from pain, but from the overwhelming relief of being believed, supported, defended. For the first time in months, someone was fighting for her. Amaka placed a hand over hers. "Zara, this isn't revenge, this is justice. After everything he took from you, everything he broke, everything you lost." She paused, voice thickening. "You deserve this." Zara wiped her tear quickly, nodding. Her voice steadied. "Amaka, I'm not doing this just for me." Amaka frowned slightly. For who then?" Zara's eyes darkened, her grief sharpening like a blade. "For the child I lost. Silence filled the room, thick, powerful, unbreakable. Then Amaka whispered, "Then we'll make sure your child's death is not in vain." Zara inhaled deeply, a slow, deep, steady breath. This was the moment her quiet suffering transformed into purpose. She wasn't just gathering evidence anymore. She wasn't just remembering who she used to be. She was becoming someone new, someone forged in pain, but strengthened by truth. And Kola Adeyemi had no idea that the woman he abandoned emotionally, physically, and spiritually was about to become the architect of his downfall. Zara returned home from Igwe Partners with her heart pounding not from fear, but from a fierce new clarity. The sunlight over Palmview Heights felt different today, brighter, sharper, as if the universe had quietly shifted in her favor. She walked into the house and closed the door softly behind her. For a moment she stood still in the silence, letting her eyes trace the familiar walls. This was the home she built with love. This was the home where she lost her child. This was the home where Kola believed he owned her. And this was the home where she would begin to dismantle every piece of his power. That evening, Kola returned swaggering, smelling of expensive cologne and questionable decisions. Zara served him dinner calmly, silently, perfectly. He didn't notice the difference in her eyes. He never looked long enough to see anything. But as he bragged on the phone to Segun about a business deal, Zara listened from the kitchen doorway, her expression unreadable. Every arrogant word he spoke fed her resolve. When Kola fell asleep, snoring loudly, Zara slipped once again into the guest room, her sanctuary of quiet power. She sat at her desk, opened her laptop, and began building the blueprint of his downfall. This time, it wasn't just code glowing on her screen. It was strategy. She opened a document titled Operation Phoenix. The name made her chest tighten, symbolic, powerful, true to her journey. Inside, she created 4 sections. 1. Personal betrayals documented, cheating evidence, screenshots, voice notes, hotel receipts, money trails, each piece labeled time-stamped and stored. 2. Financial crimes traced, Kola's misuse of company funds, false invoices, late-night transfers to unknown accounts, illegal business associations with Kola. Zara matched every transaction to his bragging in group chats. Her fingers moved quickly, calculating, analyzing, connecting dots only a brilliant engineer could see. 3. Corrupt network mapped, Segun's scams, Kunla's backdoor deals, Femi's involvement in laundering money through shell accounts. She created a spiderweb diagram of the men's connections, each line a threat to their freedom. 4. Final phase destruction. Legal steps with Amaka. Digital steps she would execute herself. Company board exposure. Anonymous reports to the Anti-Corruption Bureau. Backup evidence stored in secure cloud servers under encrypted aliases Kola would never decipher. Every plan neatly arranged. Every move calculated. Every risk predicted. Zara sat back for a moment, breathing heavily. She wasn't the broken, shaking woman who had left the hospital. She wasn't the silent wife Kola controlled. She was the woman she used to be and more. Stronger, sharper, quieter, dangerous in ways Kola couldn't imagine. She whispered into the dim room, "Let him think I'm defeated. It will make the fall sweeter." Just then, a soft notification pinged on her laptop. A message from Amaka. "Found something. Call me in the morning." Zara's heartbeat quickened. She typed back, "I'll be ready." She shut the laptop gently, not in exhaustion, but in triumph. Then she opened her engineering diary once more. Her old notes reminded her of the girl who once dreamed boldly, who had believed she could change the tech world. And in the quiet of the night, Zara made a new promise, one she whispered into the air like a vow to her unborn child. I will rise, and he will fall, and the world will know the truth. She closed the diary, feeling stronger than she had in years. This wasn't the end of her suffering. It was the beginning of Kola's. The next morning arrived with a strange calmness. Zara woke up before sunrise, her mind sharper than it had been in months. She showered quietly, dressed simply, and prepared for the day, each movement slow, intentional, steady. Her phone buzzed at exactly 8 a.m. Amaka. Come to the office. I found something big. Zara's chest tightened. Something big? What could be bigger than cheating, fraud, and corruption? She headed to Igwe Partners immediately, slipping out before Kola woke. The city smelled of early rain, the roads shimmering with the afterglow of dawn. When she stepped into Amaka's office, the lawyer was standing, not sitting, arms crossed tightly, and her face was fierce. Zara. Sit down, she said. Zara obeyed. Amaka took a breath, opened a file on the desk, and turned the screen toward her. Kola isn't just misusing company funds, she began slowly. He's laundering money. Zara stiffened. Laundering? Through who? Through Kunle Bada, and Sigan Martins is the middleman. Femi handles the women who pose as business clients. It's all connected. Zara's stomach twisted. This is a whole criminal scheme, Amaka continued. Not small fraud, not petty theft, serious felony. Zara leaned closer, hands trembling slightly, not from fear, but from shock. How did you find this? She whispered. I had an investigator run deep checks on everyone in that group chat you showed me, Amaka replied. But Zara, that's not the biggest part. She clicked open another file. Zara's heart nearly stopped. There, in crisp text, was a fake contract, listing Zara's name as a silent cosigner for illegal fund movements. Her breath caught painfully. Amaka, what is this? It's how Kola planned to destroy you completely, Amaka said, voice low and furious. If the authorities ever traced the laundering, he built the paperwork to frame it as your doing. You would take the fall, not him. Zara's world froze. He wasn't only a liar, not only an abuser, not only a thief. He was willing to let her rot in prison to protect himself. A wave of nausea hit her. She gripped the edge of the desk to steady herself. Amaka leaned forward and touched her hand. Zara, this man is not just cruel, he is dangerous. Zara swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. He would have destroyed me. Completely. He tried to, Amaka corrected gently. But he failed. Because now you know. Zara leaned back in her chair, breathing deeply. For a moment she felt the crushing weight of everything. The lost baby, the destroyed womb, the betrayal, the humiliation, the lies, the deception, the attempt to sacrifice her freedom. But then something shifted. A cold, clear resolve washed through her. This wasn't just about heartbreak. It wasn't even about revenge anymore. Kola was a predator, and predators only stop when someone stops them. Zara lifted her chin, eyes hardening with a strength that startled even Amaka. What do we do next? Amaka's lips curved into a slow, fierce smile. We set a trap. She pulled up the next slide on the screen a detailed, multi-step plan. A plan that would expose the money laundering, tie each man to the crimes, alert the company board anonymously, tip off the Anti-Corruption Bureau, leak evidence to a major news outlet, freeze their accounts before they could run, and ensure Zara remained protected from every direction. Zara listened, heart pounding with something powerful. This was justice. This was precision. This was the beginning of the end. When Amaka finished laying out the strategy, she looked Zara dead in the eye. "This is dangerous. We have to move carefully. But Zara, once this begins, there is no going back." Zara inhaled slowly. Her voice was steady, unshaking. "Amaka, he didn't leave me anything to go back to." The office fell silent. And in that silence, the shift happened. The moment the hunted woman became the hunter. Zara stood, closed the file gently, and said the words that marked the turning point of her life. "Start the trap." The next few days unfolded like a carefully choreographed dance, slow, silent, and dangerously precise. Zara walked through Palmview Heights estate with measured steps, her movements gentle, her voice soft, her eyes lowered. Kola thought she was still broken, still fragile, still scared. But he didn't know that every time she washed dishes, every time she folded laundry, every time she smiled weakly at him, she was waiting, observing, preparing. The trap had already begun. That evening, as she served him dinner, Kola scrolled through his phone, laughing loudly. "Segun said we're meeting at the bar tomorrow," he said without looking at her. "Make sure my clothes are ready." Zara nodded. "Yes, Kola." Her voice was polite, quiet, controlled. Exactly how he expected her to sound. He didn't notice the faint glint of fire hiding behind her lowered lashes. Later, when he fell asleep, snoring heavily, half drunk, half-proud Zara slipped once again into the guest room. The moment the door clicked shut, she exhaled deeply. The silence here was different. It wasn't suffocating. It wasn't oppressive. It was empowering. She sat at her desk and opened her laptop. A message from Amaka appeared immediately. "Step 1 complete. The anonymous tip has been sent to Tech Forward's board." Zara's heart thudded. Another message arrived seconds later. "Step 2. Anti-Corruption Bureau acknowledged receipt of the financial report." Her fingers tightened on the phone. A third message from an unknown number, the investigator. "All evidence backed up on secure cloud. Leak schedule ready." Her breath caught. It was happening. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of justice finally shifting in her favor. She typed back, "Proceed." The next morning, something subtle shifted around Kola. A phone call came in as he shaved in the bathroom. Zara couldn't hear the words, but she heard the sudden silence. Then the sharp, confused, "What do you mean, irregularities?" He stepped out of the bathroom, face stiff, towel over his shoulder. His eyes met hers briefly, confused, disturbed. But she blinked slowly, masking everything. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. He stared at her for a moment, longer than usual. Suspicion flickered, then faded. He shook his head dismissively. "It's office nonsense, don't worry." Zara nodded, returning to the kitchen. But inside her chest, her heartbeat was loud. The board was moving. The investigation had begun. His world was cracking. Later that day, as Kola left the house in a hurry, Zara watched from the window. His back was tense, his movements jerky, his phone pressed to his ear. He was unraveling. Good. She closed the curtains gently. The storm had begun, but he didn't yet know its source. He didn't yet know the architect behind it. Zara locked the door, walked into the living room, and sat calmly on the couch. For the first time in a long time, the house didn't feel like a cage. It felt like a battlefield, one where every quiet breath she took was part of her strategy. When her phone buzzed again, she reached for it, heart tight with anticipation. Amaka. "Step 3 complete." Segun is under investigation for tax fraud. Kunla's accounts flagged for suspicious activity. Femi is being summoned for questioning. Zara held the phone to her chest. Not out of fear, but out of an overwhelming surge of justice. The men who laughed at her pain, the men who enabled Kola, the men who cheered as she bled, they were falling. And not because she shouted, and not because she fought them physically, not because she begged the universe for vengeance. They were falling because she rose, quietly, strategically, intelligently. Zara stood slowly, walked to the window, and looked at the fading Kola sunset, coloring the sky in shades of gold and crimson. This was the quiet before the storm, the moment before everything shattered for those who had tried to break her. Her voice was barely a whisper, but carried the weight of destiny. Let the storm begin. 2 days later, the Kola city felt tense, as though the sky itself sensed something was coming. Clouds gathered early, dark and heavy, like witnesses waiting for a revelation. Inside Palmview Heights, Zara moved with deliberate calm. She prepared Kola's dinner. She set the table. She kept her voice soft. She never asked questions. The perfect wife. The perfect disguise. Kola paced the living room, phone glued to his ear, his voice tight with frustration and rising fear. Segun, I'm telling you, the board wants a meeting. The Bureau is asking stupid questions. Who reported us? He paused, breathing hard. No, nobody has evidence. Nobody! Zara folded napkins quietly behind him, her face hidden from view. Nobody? She almost laughed. Kola's voice rose again. Relax, we'll handle this. Just delete any sensitive chats. Make sure the women... He froze mid-sentence. The phone slipped slightly in his grip. Zara turned, confused on purpose. Kola, what's wrong? He stared at his screen in horror. The Elite Bros group chat was gone. Not deleted. Archived into a restricted folder. Password protected. And he didn't remember doing it. His eyes narrowed. Confusion. Fear. Suspicion. Slowly, very slowly, he looked at Zara. For the first time, he really looked at her. Zara lowered her gaze, feigning innocence. Is everything okay? Kola said nothing. He just stared. Then, without warning, he stormed down the hallway and entered the guest room. Zara's pulse jumped. Not from fear, but from preparation. This moment had been coming. He flicked on the light and scanned the room. Everything looked normal, neat, peaceful. But Kola wasn't looking for peace. He was looking for answers. He opened drawers, checked behind the curtains, looked under the desk. Nothing. Then his eyes fell on the engineering diary sitting neatly on the desk. He picked it up. Zara walked to the doorway silently. Kola, she said gently, what are you doing? He flipped the diary open. Pages of code. App sketches. Dreams. Plans. His jaw clenched. When did you start all this again, he asked, voice low, dangerous. Zara's breath caught. This was the moment. The moment his delusion about her shattered. The moment he realized she was no longer under his control. But she forced a soft smile. Oh, just something to keep me busy. Her voice was calm, soft, harmless. Kola's nostrils flared. This is why you've been quiet? You think you can just start some tech nonsense again? She lowered her eyes. Kola, it's nothing serious. He stepped closer, diary clutched tightly in his fist. You're hiding something, he whispered. Zara's pulse steadied. She lifted her chin slowly. I hide nothing from you, she lied gently. Kola's phone buzzed violently in his pocket. He pulled it out angrily. Another message from the tech forward board. Emergency meeting tomorrow. All executives must attend. He went pale. It was happening faster than he anticipated. He grabbed his keys in a panic and rushed out. I'm going to the office. The door slammed. Silence swallowed the house. Zara exhaled shakily, gripping the doorframe. He was unraveling. He was suspicious. He was paranoid. Good. That meant the storm was close. She returned to the guest room and picked up her engineering diary, hugging it to her chest. This room had become her sanctuary. But tomorrow it would become her war room. Her phone buzzed. Amaka. Tomorrow's the day. Be prepared, and Zara, don't be alone tonight. A second message came from Tayo. We're coming over. Lock the doors until we get there. Zara's eyes filled, but not with fear. With gratitude. With strength. With the certainty that she was no longer walking this journey alone. She locked the front door and stood in the dim living room, her arms wrapped around herself. The house felt different. It felt like a shell cracking open, a quiet before thunder, a breath before truth, a moment before flames. Zara whispered into the darkness. Tomorrow, everything changes. And outside, the first drop of rain hit the window soft, but heavy with promise. The masks were falling. Tomorrow, Kola would face the woman he thought he broke. The woman he never saw coming. The woman who rose. Morning broke with a heaviness that clung to the sky. Thick clouds gathered over Lakora City, and thunder rumbled faintly in the distance, as if nature itself sensed what was about to unfold. Zara dressed in silence. A simple black gown. No makeup. No jewelry. Just calm dignity. Her reflection in the mirror looked unfamiliar, a woman, shaped by loss, sharpened by truth, and steadied by quiet fire. She tied her hair back neatly and stepped out of the bedroom. Amaka and Tayo were already waiting in the living room, their faces serious, protective, ready. You slept? Tayo asked softly. Zara gave a small nod. A little. Amaka placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. This ends today. Zara inhaled deeply. I'm ready. At 10 a.m., Kola arrived at Tech Forward Solutions headquarters. He stormed through the glass doors, irritation painted across his face. He was dressed sharply, trying to mask the panic clawing at his insides. Everything around him felt wrong. Too quiet. Too watchful. Employees whispered as he passed. What's happening? Is it true? He looks worried. Kola straightened his jacket and entered the boardroom with forced confidence. Inside, the executives sat in a stiff semicircle. None of them smiled. None of them greeted him. The chairman slid a thick folder across the table. Kola, he said coolly, we received an anonymous report with evidence. Kola's heart pounded. Evidence of what? The chairman opened the folder. Screenshots, transactions, hotel receipts, hidden accounts, group chats, voice recordings, all neatly printed, all neatly organized, all undeniable. Kola felt the blood drain from his face. Wait, this isn't... Someone is framing me. The chairman's voice hardened. We traced every transaction. These accounts lead back to your devices, your passwords, your authorization codes. A silence so thick it vibrated filled the room. Then the Human Resources Director slid another paper forward. And this second package was sent directly to the Anti-Corruption Bureau. Kola froze. His throat tightened. His palms sweated. His mind raced. He looked around the table at the disappointment, at the disgust, the shifting gazes. How, he whispered, how had someone collected all of this? Who could know where to look? What to trace? what passwords to test. Then he remembered, and panic stabbed through him like ice. Zara. Meanwhile, at Palmview Heights Estate, Zara sat with Amaka and Tayo in the quiet living room. Rain tapped lightly at the windows. The air felt charged, electric. Tayo squeezed Zara's hand. "You're shaking." Zara exhaled slowly. "He must be at the office by now." Amaka nodded. "He's probably surrounded by every piece of evidence we documented." Zara's chest tightened. She wasn't celebrating. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't even angry. She simply felt justified. Not because she hurt him, but because he could no longer hurt her. Her phone buzzed. She froze. A message flashed across the screen. "Kola. What did you do?" Another came instantly. "Zara, answer me now." Then a third. "Did you go through my files? You think you're smart? You think you can destroy me?" Zara let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Amaka reached over and gently took the phone from her. "Do not respond." Zara nodded. Her hands trembled anyway, not from fear, but from the weight of the moment she'd been preparing for. Kola was cornered. Kola was exposed. Kola was unraveling. And everything was happening exactly as planned. Back at Tech Forward headquarters, Kola slammed his hands against the conference table. "You can't do this. I built this company. You—" The chairman cut him off. "You will step down immediately, effective today. Failure to comply will result in legal action." Security guards appeared at the door. Kola's breath caught. This was real. This was happening. This was the fall. He tried one last desperate question, his voice cracking. Who did this to me?" No one answered. Because the truth was outside his imagination. He expected an enemy, powerful, loud, public. Not the quiet woman he thought he had broken. Not the wife he dismissed. Not the woman he never took seriously. He never expected Zara, because he never believed she could rise. At the same moment, far away from his downfall, Zara whispered into the quiet room, "This is for my child." And outside, thunder cracked across the Licora skyloud, powerful, unavoidable. Just like justice. Kola burst through the doors of Palmview Heights, just past noon, rain clinging to his shirt, hair wild, eyes bloodshot with fury and fear. He looked like a man dragged through a storm, because he was. He slammed the door behind him. "Zara!" he roared. In the living room, Zara sat calmly between Amaka and Tayo. She didn't flinch. She didn't stand. She didn't look shaken. She simply lifted her eyes, steady and unreadable. Kola stormed toward her, waving a stack of papers. Board reports, printed screenshots, evidence of every crime tied to his name. "What did you do?" he demanded. His voice trembled. Not with anger, with panic. Zara blinked slowly. "I didn't do anything," she said softly. "You did." That answer hit him harder than any blow. He stepped closer, fists clenched. "You think you can destroy me with this nonsense? You think these lies?" Amaka stood instantly, placing herself between them. "Touch her," she said coldly, "and I will personally make sure the police add assault charges to the list." Kola glared at her, then at Tayo, who had already dialed a number on her phone, her thumb hovering over the call button. Zara remained seated, calm, silent, unshaken. Her silence stabbed deeper than any shout. Kola's breath grew erratic. "You went through my files. You hacked my accounts." Zara finally stood. Her voice was steady, measured, sharp enough to break him. "I didn't hack anything, Kola. You leave your phone unlocked. You boast loudly. You trust criminals. You confess crimes in group chats. You send money without thinking. You hide nothing because you believe you're untouchable. She stepped closer, just enough for him to feel her presence, but not her fear. But you forgot something, she whispered. Kola swallowed. His voice cracked. Forgot. What? Zara lifted her chin. That I built you. The room froze. Amaka and Tayo exchanged a glance, pride swelling in their eyes. But Kola. He staggered back a step. You? He whispered, stunned. You did nothing, You? Zara laughed softly. It wasn't humor. It was truth breaking free. You were a man with a failing idea. No investors, no direction, no money. I rewrote your entire framework. I designed your interface. I built the algorithms. I pitched your first clients. I sold my parents' house to fund your dream. Her voice trembled, but not with weakness. But the moment success touched you, you forgot. Kola's lips parted, speechless. Zara continued. You forgot who saved you. You forgot who believed in you. You forgot who sacrificed for you. And then you gave me pain in return. She placed her hand over her abdomen. You kicked me. You killed my child. You destroyed my womb. And you laughed. Kola flinched visibly. His eyes watered. Whether from fear or guilt was impossible to know. But do you know what your biggest mistake was? Her voice softened dangerously. You thought breaking my body meant breaking my mind. Silence. Kola's breathing hitched. Zara stepped back and folded her hands in front of her. And then she delivered the final blow. I didn't destroy your life, Kola. You did. I simply stopped protecting you. His face crumbled. Not in remorse. In realization. He staggered toward the couch and dropped the papers. They spilled across the floor like confessions. You can't do this, he whispered. You can't leave me like this. Zara looked at him. Really looked at him. For the first time, she saw not the monster who hurt her, but the weak man behind the cruelty. A man who used her strength because he had none of his own. Tayo stepped forward and touched Zara's arm gently. Let's go, Zara. Amaka gathered her bag and nodded. Zara took a deep breath, turned to the door, walked past the man who once owned her world. At the doorway, she paused and said one last thing. You should pray the investigators reach you before fate does. Kola sank into the couch, burying his face in his hands. The door closed behind Zara like a final chapter sealing itself. Outside, as she stepped into the rain, thunder rolled across the sky, not violent, but triumphant. She wasn't running away. She was walking toward the life she deserved. And for the first time in a very long time, Zara felt light, free, and alive.